Like I have fun. Oh, here we are. Hello, everyone. Happy Fierce Female Friday. We are at the very first Friday of the final month of 2021. Wow. Unbelievable, really. And believable. The weather here is saying it's December. It's like 35 degrees outside.
Oh, nice.
We are so excited to be with you all today. We have a couple of WomanUP updates as we get ready to do that, though. As you know, we love to get you connected in the chat. So make sure you drop and let us know where you are watching from today. Are you at the office? Are you home? Are you in the car? Are you in the car safely? You know who I'm talking to. Uh, let us know. Let us live vicariously through you. Maybe you're actually taking a pre-holiday vacation. We'd love to hear that too. So we would let's just roll right into the updates because we've got an exciting conversation to have with you this week. We have 2 more shows after this week, so make sure to mark your calendars. Friday is at 2. Next week, drum roll please, we have Madam President, the NAR 2022 President, Leslie Rita-Smith, is in the house with us next week. She is joining us at the WomanUP table. We are going to have a conversation about leadership and about planning into the possibilities of 2022. So you do not want to miss that. It is a great opportunity to be in on an intimate conversation with Leslie Rita-Smith. You'll be able to ask questions in the chat and really hear her heart and her vision for what's next for NAR. So make sure you join us on the 10th. And then of course, on the 17th, we are having a big Circle Up party. Just like we did at the virtual workshops earlier this year, we are doing a big WomanUP meeting of the minds. We are going to pass the mic around the Zoom room, get your drop the mic moments from 2021. It might be your biggest business lesson learned. It might be a big, fierce failure that you are super proud of. It could be an award you won, just an amazing moment, but we really want to end the year inspiring one another, lifting each other up, giving each other snaps for the lessons that we've learned and that we've taken in. So make sure to join us on the 17th and bring an idea to share. Of course, if you want to throw on a party hat or a tiara or some bling, whatever you want to do to celebrate the holidays with us. Again, that's the 17th, 2:00. And then last but not least, of course, everyone is purchasing their holiday gifts. So don't forget about the WomanUP swag shop. If you go to IamWomanUp.com, you can easily click the button that says shop at the top and use holiday 2021 as your promo code to get a little extra something in your cart from us. We would love to see those photos floating around during the holidays of everyone from the infants in the onesies to our Gramsies in the WomanUP hats, right? Pass the WomanUP love. That's all I've got. How about you, Leslie? What's on your mind?
Oh my goodness. Well, the tiara comment reminded me the other day, my 3.5-year-old granddaughter, Izzy, was coming over to spend a little time with Grandma. And when I picked her up, Rebecca asked her if she wanted to bring anything with her. And she was holding a tiara that she had made at school. And she said, no, just my tiara. And I just thought, of course, it's really the only essential thing you need to bring to Grandma's is your headgear. Anyway, one of the things that I've been meaning to do the last 2 months is read a book that I bought with great enthusiasm, which was Indra Nooyi's book, My Life in Full. And if you aren't, you probably are, but if you're not, she was the CEO of PepsiCo and retired a few years ago. And what an amazing story. And she reminded me of so many women I know in this industry who, despite all the supposed obstacles, they just kept doing their thing. They kept doing the work, they kept showing up, and off they went. And I just wanted to read, and there's just all kinds of things about being the only woman in the room, the only female CEO, just you can imagine what it's like in that rarefied air. And I highly recommend it. But I wanted to read this because we're talking about strategy and planning. And she developed an initiative when she became a CEO called Performance with Purpose. And it essentially was saying, PepsiCo, wake up. People don't want to drink sugar anymore. People care about their health. Our treats are too too much sugar, too much salt, we are going to be left behind. Our revenue, our bottom line is going to be impacted. In addition to, we should be doing positive things in the world. So that in a nutshell was Performance with Purpose. And here she's bringing this initiative to this group. Here these guys have been selling Fritos and Lay's potato chips for 30 years and don't want to hear about it, right? And she's like, huge change has no shortcuts. It requires honesty, agility, and courage. Once I committed to transforming PepsiCo, I felt my education and experience merging to serve that mission. I was ready for it. I knew what to do. The critical first step was to frame the message for all to understand and embrace. I talked about PWP, Performance with Purpose, everywhere, describing it in straightforward terms why the shift was so necessary. Society and consumers are changing and we can't be left behind. I said in every possible forum, this is about how we make money, not how we spend the money we make. This is essential for our employees and their families. This is our route to thriving together. And that's just a teaser for a book that you will hopefully we can talk about it next year, but that really was on my mind, just looking at a woman in my kind of age group, coming of age in the 50s and 60s, and just what an incredible difference she made. It's very inspiring.
I love it. Well, yes, I'm listening to her. She narrates her own book on Audible, and you all know how much we love that, because the author gets to put their own intonation into every single word they wrote. But it's beautiful. I did drop the name and Indra's name in there. And I think that for those of you who've been part of the last couple of conversations we've had here, we've been talking about people over profits a lot. And how that has been a really beautiful theme that was woven into nearly every Friday conversation this year in some way, shape, or form. It was either about how an organization has done their attraction and that's very values aligned, or how they're really plugging into the community and giving back. But that people over profits theme, it is something that we see a lot of women bring to the table. And it's not that men don't, it's just simply we do things and see things through a different lens a lot of the time. And it's beautiful to start to see how that actually does truly trickle down into an organization. So I vote for that book to be one of the books that we talk about next year for sure. Maybe it'll be a coffee and conversation with Leslie.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
love Audible, but I'm a visual learner, so I really do appreciate the hard copy that I can highlight.
Yes.
As many of you know, I highlight the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal every morning. So when John gets it, he gets an extra. He already knows what to read.
You just say it's covered in sunshine, darling.
It's covered in sunshine. Never have too many yellow markers.
Amen, and amen. I agree. For books, I'm a huge proponent of that too. I like to actually have the Audible and the physical book with me,
right?
For that very reason. Like I love to be read to. And so it's really fun to have somebody read it to me, but then actually be able to write the notes in the binding sides of the book. So, all right, let's get into introducing to you all to our amazing guest today. Those of you who were at Inman in Vegas had a chance to hear about Sarita, but for those of you who have not had the chance to be in her presence or connect with her on social media, Sarita Dua has been selling real estate for 19 years after 14 previous years in high-tech sales and marketing. She manages a small team that has an innovative approach to selling real estate that is strong with buyers, works their database for referrals, and employs a unique combination of high tech and high touch. In 2019, Sarita was named the exclusive listing broker for the Ritz-Carlton residences coming to Portland, Oregon. They're thinking around July 2023. In addition to this, she is an industry speaker, trainer, coach, amongst a variety of other things she does in her personal life. Like when she's not working, she enjoys photography, spending time with her family. She's an avid traveler, and she loves NBA basketball. Come on now.
Not after last night. My Blazers choked, but
Oh no.
they're choking a lot lately.
Oh my goodness. And we learned that it was right before the marathon. We saw her in Vegas. So now she's actually completed the New York Marathon,
Correct.
and which is awesome. Sarita also has a bachelor's in electronic engineering from Kettering, an MBA from Boston University, and just
Blah, blah, blah.
just received an executive MBA from MIT. She graduated via Zoom in May 2020, and not blah, blah, blah. If that's what I heard you say down there, own it. This is a huge achievement. Oh my goodness. Snap, 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 snap.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Sarita. Oh my goodness. We're so excited to hear about your journey. So let's dig into that. How did you get where you are today? You went from engineering to real estate? How does that happen?
I did. I trying to look at like, what are the common themes? I started out electrical engineering major, and I kind of learned quickly, if you can be a nerd, but if you can communicate too, that's a nice small sliver of the Venn diagram. Some people can communicate, but they didn't have the technical skills. Some people had the technical skills, but couldn't articulate value to the customer on how they save time or money. Because I could do both, early on, I was in a sales and marketing program for a large company. For 7 years, they groomed us straight out of school. We had company cars, calling on large accounts and almost being like technical consultants, which I loved. One of the things I noticed, if you would find a theme, the theme is impact. Being at a big company, I learned while I was in the sales office, entire groups were coming to me trying to get access to our account, and they were doing the same thing as other big entire groups. And I felt like, being in sales, you can see your impact. Like if you win a design, or you get an order, or you make a difference, or you help a client save money or time, you can see that impact. And that was important to me. So after 7 years at a big company, I went off and got married and came back. I had this like 10-page memo of all the things that needed to happen while I was gone, of which the first 2 pages were bolded. And I came back and like nothing got done, like zero, like time didn't move. And that's when I realized, like, whoa, like the world spun without me. That wasn't the issue. It was more just like we were on molasses time. And so I ended up going to 4person.com and then gravitated to like 100-person companies. And I loved it. Never thought I'd leave tech. Loved being at a smaller company where I could make more of a difference. Well, then married with a 2 and a 4-year-old, I have this weird thing where I'll do anything for anybody, but at least back then, I'm way better now, but back then I would never ask for help. Well, being in a new city with a 2 and a 4-year-old, every ear infection leaded to rock, paper, scissors. Who's going to watch the kid? Who's going to change their business trip? I have one and you have one too, and I'd be like, I'm going to Dallas. And my husband would be like, well, I'm in Germany. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going to Dallas. And so I looked at what could I do that's entrepreneurial that I could make a difference in. I'll be honest, I didn't love houses. I didn't love real estate. I did love the idea of being in a service industry where you didn't have to go on Shark Tank and get a bunch of money to like start a company. It's service, it's your time. And so I looked at real estate, financial planning, insurance, mortgages, and I thought real estate would be a good fit because really, as much as I love architecture and houses now, but it's really people and project management. And that's what I was really, that was the common theme of everything I had done in my career till then. So that's sort of how we got here, from tech to big company, little company, and then being in real estate. I'm a consultant for my clients. And if I find myself selling, I'm doing something wrong. I'm usually trying to break everything for them and be there as a resource for them and build out a community of our clients. So I love it. I've been doing it. I got licensed in 2003, started in 2004, been in the Portland marketplace the whole time. And we landed in Portland, not, if anyone knows Portland, Oregon, it's got our famous green carpet in the airport. We landed in Portland knowing no one. And I've built a successful practice just by being, really focused on our clients and what they need and being a resource.
Sarita, when I think of Portland, I think of great donuts. First,
yes,
to get that off the table. But secondly, I just want to know, like, what was the first step? Did you have a mentor? Did you make a phone call? Did you join a company? Like, I love this whole idea of this is a place I can make a difference. But how do you go from that to actually doing it?
Well, I didn't. It's a really good question. And I will say I'm a bit more methodical about things than I even give myself credit for. My main thing is I was making good money in tech and I loved it. And everyone I talked to when I was thinking about doing this was like, hey, join a team. It's like a great way to learn. And while I love the idea of doing that, I knew that there would be an accountability element to a team. And one of the reasons I was doing this is to not have accountability. Like if there was a field trip or an ear infection, I needed to be there and not feel like I was letting
Yes.
anyone down. So I decided to go it alone. And I read a book. I read Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I also read a lot. I think I downloaded like YouTubes and stuff way back then about like what it takes to be successful. And I actually I got my domain name as Sarita and wrote a business plan before I even started. So it's funny that we're talking about planning. When we were in Portland, I knew no one. But by the time I got my license, I had worked at 4 startups in Portland, had a community through the kids' daycare, through the Indian community, and through my neighbors. So I knew like a lot of people. And I also joined different associations because I was home based working for a Boston company in a new city. So I joined like Portland Female Executive Software Association of Oregon. I didn't do that to get leads. To be honest, I got it just to get human interaction because I mean, I would like do a whole week's worth of work by 3 p.m. I mean, we know this now because of Zoom, but it was kind of like then back then. I
Right.
was working from home. I was super efficient. And then when people were talking about the Rose Parade, I didn't even know that there was the water cooler didn't happen when you're home.
Right.
So what was cool about that is then when I got into real estate, I wasn't one of those people that let me join every group because I need leads. It was more, hi, this is Sarita and this is what I'm doing now. You've known me from this, and this. I did a mailer to 500 people that I knew. And I wrote, hey, like I just got my license. So sure, I'm happy to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. But if you're thinking about you need a new roof or you need a painter, you might want to redo your deck, call me. I'm your resource. Whatever question, big or small, I'm here to help. And it was amazing. Like I got a lot of people reach out saying, congratulations, good luck, you'll do great, whatever. I had a couple people say, I don't want a house, but I do need a new deck. What do you recommend or whatever? Who do you recommend?
Right.
And then the other thing I got was I got those wish list buyers and sellers like, hey, we're not selling or buying, but if you ever find a house with 5 bedrooms on one level and then a bonus from below that's wheelchair accessible and has a big yard, let me know. So I call it unicorn buyers.
Unicorn
Right?
buyers, yes.
Right. So I went and looked for unicorns and guess what? I found them, it was pretty fun. So I just approached it like that. I joined a lead group. I joined BNI and I did that for 7 years every Tuesday morning. I did it not only to perfect kind of what's my pitch, but I also felt like if I'm going to be asked Sarita to my community, they're going to need a cleaning person or an insurance agent or whatever. I want to build out my, using an old person's term, Rolodex or contact database with people that will be resources for my community. And so it wasn't as much about how do I sell more houses from this? It's more like, how do I vet out people that will be useful to the people in my life?
Mm.
So one more question before I ask the question I'm supposed to be asking you, and
Sure.
that is about resilience. How was it 4 years from then? How did the 07, 08, 09 thing feel? Did you question your decision making or did you turn it into an opportunity? What did that look like?
So yeah, it's a good question. I think I'm so fear-based, at least at the beginning, that like everything I sold 21 homes my first year. I was rookie of the year and I felt like the whole thing was a fluke. And then every month I think like I'm never going to sell anything or help anyone. And so I think by the time the kind of the boom and then the bust happened, it ended up coinciding with a sabbatical we took for my husband. My husband works for a company that gives you sabbatical, and we took 50 days and we went to India and took our young kids to India. And so I was this was like 09. So it was like after the crash, the tax credits had expired and Portland was really slow. What saved me, I think, for 07 was my 04, 05, 06. While we were booming, I got some good experience right before that. So I was able, like we were writing offers on the hood of our car, but like I at least wrote an offer before, right? So that kind of was good timing. But then I noticed in 09, I had this lower year and I was like, oh, well, it's the market, right? And then I realized I was talking to other people that were having their best year ever. And I'm like, it's actually not the market, it's me. And that's an excuse. If you surround it's just like Mikey, from that Life commercial. If you don't know, it tastes like a healthy cereal and you think it's
Right.
amazing, it's amazing, so I fared well like all the time, I think. And I think partly it's because you come from contribution and you're there to help your people. And I kind of am a big believer, we don't need to push people in the pool to get them to swim into the market. There's already people in the pool. Let's find those people,
Right.
right? Let's find the person who's pregnant with their fourth kid in a 2-bedroom house. Let's find the person who's got a job transfer and this sale represents their family being together, right? Like it's like finding the motivated, right? They're there. We don't have to sit there and sell them on the beauty of home ownership if they're not there. So it did sort of work out. I'm a fairly positive person in that I don't spend a lot of time when things go wrong, really beating myself up. I mean, I do want to learn from it, but I'm always one of those, okay, we are where we are. What do we do now?
Right.
And so that attitude sort of helped too, of just being resilient and focused on like, what do we need to tweak to get better?
And
so
speaking
we-
of the future, what I supposed to be
Oh,
asking
wait,
you, I love-
wait. Before you do that, I want to actually point something out because I think that this is huge because you said this, I didn't actually love houses, that you got in to serve and to like consult and project manage. This is key for as people are getting ready to put their recruiting plans together, their attraction platform. This is a key differentiator. I truly saw this in 10 years as a recruiter in this industry. The people who come in who say, I love people and I love houses, have the hardest time becoming successful in this business versus the people who come in with Sarita's mindset. And so listen for those words, listen for this vision casting of, I'm going to put together a referral network. The name of my company, of my URL is Ask Sarita. These are indicators
Brilliant.
of people who want to serve, who are not just there to get a latte and go look at houses. It's huge. So, okay.
No, I appreciate that.
Public
because you're
service
right.
message out.
If you love people, guess what? You're hurting a lot of them too when you have to call them and say they didn't get the house, right? You really do have to believe it's going to work out the way it's supposed to. And in any good transaction, it's like, here's what's happened. Here's what's happening now. Here's what just happened. Here's what's happening now. Here's what's happening next. Like anytime I got a question, it was like, I mean, not being a perfectionist about it, but like if they're asking me a question, I didn't explain it right, if it wasn't clear to them, and that's an opportunity to improve our process. Like to even do a video, if 10 people ask me as sellers, should we inspect our home before we list it? It's like, I do these videos, I send 2 out a month. That's a great little 2-minute video on like, hey, should you inspect your home before you list? Let me tell you the pros and cons on why in this market, I don't think you should, but and you can, or you can't, but here's some thoughts to consider. So to me, every question became an opportunity to educate.
Love that. Deborah, I thought your comments were like an audio highlight of
oh, sunshine, verbal sunshine
comments. That's what it did for me. That was great. But let me get back in here, Sarita, and talk about planning for 2022, which I know many of us have been doing now for the last couple of months, but it is December, as Deborah noted, and we would really love to hear how you approach it, what your process is, and what you see for next year. I'm asked the forecast for next year all the time. I'm wondering what you're seeing and how you're preparing for it.
Well, just before we get into 2022, like 2020 and 2021 was the year for us to just double down on connections and just ask people like, how are they? What can we do to help you? And then it's interesting that first quarter of COVID in 2020, asking people how they're doing and then getting a fine thank you, and then asking them again and again, especially the women in our world that had to deal with homeschooling and other things, like, no, how you really doing? So we wanted to take that element and continue to double down on it. So for planning, honestly, I'm a big believer of like, you need to know where you're going. What's your point B? But then also, where are you today? What's your point A? And you do actually have to look back at where you came from. So the first thing we do is we look at our year, active, pending, and closed. What did we do? how did it compare to last year? How much was buyers and sellers? Where did our business come from? Any surprises or outliers from the previous years? What activities might we have done to lead to that? One of the things we did, we upped our price point by being really deliberate on what we said no to as well. Like, we don't need to drive out an hour and a half. Like, we can say no and get them a great agent and stay focused on where we add the most value. So doing that planning, I'm an electrical engineer. Deborah just gave and I went to MIT for my MBA. So I'm not going to lie. I do like numbers. And I do think that high tech and high touch thing is totally true. You can go by your gut and just be like, well, I kind of do the same every year because I do the same things every year. Or you can have a plan and look at where did you come from? What growth do you anticipate? What are your 3 pillars of where your business comes from? Lead gen is critical, right? We have 2 jobs, being a real estate agent and servicing our clients, but also making sure we go and find clients. But the right lead gen doesn't feel like work, right? For me, just networking, coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, Zooms, events, that doesn't feel like work, and I'm getting business as I do it. Whereas some people don't want to see people, they might want to cold call or door knock or whatever. Everybody has a different thing. And the answer is the ones that feel like work are probably not congruent to your personality. Find the things where you're like, I can't actually believe they pay me to do this because I love doing it anyways, right? And
Love
so,
that.
yeah,
Yes.
so that planning piece really is really important. And then setting a goal and not being afraid to shout it out, like internally to your team, to your clients. I do that for my personal life. I had a goal a couple of years ago when I turned 50 to lose 50 pounds by my 50th birthday. And I decided not to keep it a secret. And I put it out there, and it's uber accountability, like hyper accountability when you put it out there. On the other hand, you find your cheerleaders when you do it too. I posted a vulnerable post about doing the New York Marathon, which I ended up walking, which was by plan. I never walked. I had done 7 or 8 half marathons. I never walked more than 20 miles. And that was only in the course of preparing for this thing. So I'm like, I actually am scared, guys. I don't even know if I can do it. Like, if someone told me when I just did the 20 that I had to do 6 more, like I was sore for 3 weeks after that. So I was vulnerable and I was honest and I put it out there. And it's amazing the people that come out to support you. In this case, they supported me financially. I raised over 11 grand for cancer research, and our team as a team raised over 35. But it was also like anyone who gave me even $1, that the money went to the cause. Like, it wasn't by mile or by lap. But I also know that if you take money or help or support from people, you don't want to let them down. They're with you every mile, and you are going to try even harder, and you're going to be less likely to quit because they're literally the wind beneath your wings walking with you. And so I think putting things out there, no matter if you fail or not. I mean, we all know failure is actually where all the growth happens and where all the magic happens. So if we don't fail ever, we're just swinging at fastballs down the middle and we're not going for the curveballs and then the tough pitches, right? You have to. So having that accountability, and then also not being afraid to think big. Whether like it's a big number, like, hey, I'm here today, in 5 years, I'm going to do that. Gary Keller, who is one of my mentors, is always like, think big. Even if you don't hit it, you're going to go way further by thinking big. And then one of my other mentors, Tony DeSello, who is one of my coaches, we flipped the whole switch on this for me. We realized, for me, I got to a point where I don't really need to sell more to be happy or to fulfill my dreams. Like, I'm at a great place. So I started gamifying my business on how can I spend more and more time outside of my business, whether it's traveling, training, doing things that are not in the business, and still maintain my production level.
Yeah.
And how that started was, my husband's a shoe designer for Nike. The guy gets 104 days off, right? Like, every normal human gets a Saturday and Sunday off. 52 times 2 equals 104. Don't even count the vacation time. How many realtors take 104 days off? Even when we think we have like less appointments, we're like always on, we're always busy. We're saying no to things because we might need to be available. And so I talked to my coach and he goes, hey, why don't we make that your goal? Instead of going, I remember my trajectory, I think I did like 20 million, 30 million, 48, 68. He goes, instead of like, how do you do 70 and 80 and 100? It's like, gosh, if I could do that same level and take more and more time off, that would make my heart happy. I say this story, but it's so true. My kids were 4 and 6, and my daughter said to me one time, I mean, I'm gonna just say it and then I'll hope I don't cry on Zoom. She's like, Mama, sometimes I wish I was one of your clients because then you'd have more time for us. And that was like a friggin' dagger in my heart, right? And the truth is that got my attention and I did try to spend more time at home. But what I forgot is when I was available because I had a cancellation or I shuffled something on the weekend and I went home, my husband's like, hell, we're bike riding and we have this birthday party and then we're going to the farmer's market. Like they had their game plan and me gracing them with my presence they didn't sit there and wait for me because they didn't know if I'd be there or not. And they did their thing. So what we learned as a family, and I know this is a very privileged first world thing and not everyone can do this and I get it. But what we did is realize for us, travel is a way that our family comes together. And there was now like, there was really never basically 8 weeks where we weren't away from a vacation, even if it was a long weekend or a trip somewhere. And that would be our way of like getting the hamster off the hamster wheel, reconnecting, doing our thing, and then all going back to our respective treadmills, feeling energized and connected. And so travel, I've been to all 7 continents. COVID hit me hard, and that way of being grounded was rough for me because we get a lot of energy from travel. But for me, it was my way of really connecting with my family. And so that was my goal. How do I spend more? How do I build a great business, keep that level, and take more and more and more time off for being with my family? And it's been great. And very deliberate.
Yeah, I would say we could say, we like to break things down to those snackable bites, right? This is people over production, right?
Yep.
Like, and I think that we are big believers in the anti-hustle here because the anti-hustle really affects women the most because they don't ever put anything down. They just keep picking a bunch of stuff up. Yeah. And this is not all women. And it's not all men that do that either. Like this is, but in general,
it is a problem. It is a problem.
The research shows us, yes, yeah, that we know we need to take care of ourselves better. We know
and no is a 2-letter word, and for some reason we have a real hard time spitting that one out.
Yes,
it's a full sentence.
Yes,
oh my God, I say no, and then and then later somehow it morphs back into a maybe, and then you realize you think you said no, and they heard yes, and you didn't get anywhere.
Yes,
so you feel like you have to tell them why, and you don't.
No, you know, I actually I teach this in one of my fire up retreats about how I say no is a complete sentence. I've been saying that for a decade, but still people want to add to it, right? They want to add the explanation. They want to justify their no. And so I came up with this really fun response because it helps, especially those of us who are people pleasers, right? Or who simply don't want to let people down. It's not like you want to please them. They're like a friend. Why do you want to say no? I always say my volunteer hours are fully booked this month, but I have 2 people in mind who would be perfect for this. Let me get you connected. Awesome. And I tell you, the room always lights up with that because they're like, oh yes, because we always know at least 1, if not 2 other people who would be perfect to bake the muffins, to, create the lunches, to stuff the backpacks, to drive the turkeys, whatever it is. There's someone in our world who has a value that's perfectly aligned to whatever that is. Yep. And then we're actually allowing someone else to step into their power and to give their holy hell yes. Yep. Right. Other than stealing it. So I think that's so beautiful. Yeah.
That's a great way to say no. No, and have I got a solution for you?
Exactly. It's the best. And what are they? The yes and the no and. Correct. For sure. I love that.
That's another verbal highlight.
Yes.
Audio highlight.
And let's just talk about 104 days off. I think I I had a moment when you said that, because I was like, God, how do they get 104 days off? Like, I was literally trying to calculate this in my mind, and you're like, yeah, like Saturdays and Sundays. I'm like, oh my God, that is a realization, right? Even I don't sell real estate anymore. But I run a business that really does leak into the weekends.
Right.
And I love that shift, that flipping of how to look at like, oh, I'm actually working on my day off.
Right.
That is so beautiful. I love that. The idea that we can step back and look at our production differently. And you're doing that.
You can start, I do a days out calendar, and you put your family and your date nights and those things first. And you can even start with like, okay, I'm going to just put my real estate conferences because I'm technically working on myself and I'm not in my business. And then you start doing let's do the spa day before the conference, or let's tack on one day and go see a college friend after the conference. And you start bleeding out into more and more where you find that it's all about you and it fills your tank. It's amazing. And so like you can start slow, right? It doesn't have to be 100 day one. And it could even be all the trips you're doing +1 or +2, or maybe it's just a self-care day locally. It doesn't have to be, it could just be, wow, I went to a half day. There's a women's event coming up in our marketplace. It's just put on by our local association. It's 11 to 4. And like, if you were to go to Starbucks in the morning and journal, or go do something after to reflect, like that's a full day working on yourself. Right.
Yes.
So just start somewhere, right? It doesn't have to be like, wow, Sarita, you went to Antarctica. Like, should we do that? No, do what makes you happy. But and I'll admit, I'm a bit of a workaholic. So at first, those international trips, they were selfish, because guess what? I was just in India a couple of weeks, just literally got back last week to see family. And when the world's sleeping here, we're awake. And when we're, and then when you guys are awake working, it's the middle of the night. And half of the reason I used to do that selfishly is I could go out from 8 to 5, leave my phone charging in the room and not have my phone and really be present, because it took me getting into flipping time zone that is 12 hours off for me to
Yes.
actually learn how to turn it off, because I was wired that way. That tech did that to me too. Like I was just wired insanely. And then slowly over time, like you realize like, wait a minute, I'm available when I need to be available. And when I'm not, like my team now doesn't know if I'm in India, if I'm working from home. When I went to MIT, it was every other week to Boston for a long weekend. And they just got used to, guess what? The swimmer will swim without the life jacket on. If the life jacket is on, you just don't know like if they're actually swimming on their own or not. And so taking that away by just not, if they have a question and I can't answer right away, by the time you get back to them, like, oh yeah, I figured it out. Right. And so that for me started by just moving out of the office. We used to share office, me and my assistant and my listing manager. And I realized like, I don't really care about the mechanics to the level that they do, but because I was there and I was listening to everything and they were doing it different than my way, I was way bogged down with details I didn't know. And then when we moved, one of my assistants was like, Sarita, don't take this the wrong way, but I'll be right back. And then he shows up with my chair and my monitor and he's like, you should consider working from home. And, and it was amazing. Like it actually changed my business, but it took me being almost kicked out of my office for my team. Like they're amazing. Like why, and it's not a trust thing. It's just a bit of like my issues, how I was wired. And it took like a shift for me to get out of some of my bad habits.
Yeah. You know what? I think that as leaders, especially in real estate, when you start as an individual contributor in this business and then you become a leader, it's hard to let go of the control over all of those other things. So I'm sure that there are many, many, many people in our community going, yeah, that's me. Right about now. And I love that you've been able to shift that during the pandemic. Okay. So I want to highlight something that we talked about at Inman in Vegas. And this was all around like your unique value proposition, your pitch, what makes Ask Sarita so special is the fact that you really do focus on connecting your community. And so I think that, and we kind of talked about this at the top of the hour, right? About how people over profits is a consistent theme. So how do you put that into your planning? Like, how does that get attention and focus in your year when you're planning it out?
So my allied resources or my vendor partners are a big part of my business. This whole Ask Sarita thing, right? If you have a question, ask me. Real estate questions, big or small, AskSarita.com. What's beautiful about that is even 5 years after the sale, if they need a hardwood refinisher, they're calling me. Like I've almost become the Google or the Siri when it's related to real estate, which gives me insight as to what's going on with their life. Why are they preparing to sell? Are they outgrowing their house? Are they unhappy? What's happening? And so a couple of things I do is one, I'm pretty deliberate on making sure my vendors know when I refer them. We're so busy now that if you have trusted vendors, like you'll refer them and you don't even, they'll take good care of your people, so you don't tell them. But even taking the time to tell them, whether it's a text or a note or something, I mean, one, there is the law of less reciprocity, but let's be honest, a small paint job or a quick, hanging up a TV for a client's a little different than a real estate commission. So I'm downstream, if you will, in the pipeline where they're getting a lot more business from me than I'm getting for them. What I'm getting from them is that red carpet treatment that they are so appreciative about the business I get them that they will step off of a job to get us a contractor quote during our inspection period. Like we don't need to do the work. I just need to know, is it a bread box or a buffalo? And that's what I need to know before Wednesday when we expire. Right. And so to be able to pull people off to help us because we're always helping them, that's been great. The other thing we do, and we're planning it now for January, we do a vendor luncheon. And we invite all of our vendors, including if we have 2 stagers or we have 2 handymen or we have 2 of everything. We invite everyone and we don't have an agenda. We just say, hey, thank you. Our year was awesome because of you, and enjoy your lemonade, iced tea, and Cobb salad on the Ask Sarita team. And I just needed to take the moment to just thank you. And I don't know, guys, how many people do that for their vendors? Like it's nothing.
Beautiful.
It doesn't cost anything, but it is like, it's always trying to match your actions with your sentiment, right? Like I've always appreciated and loved them, but just taking the time to do that, they're appreciative, right? We're all human. Like we've all messed up too. But knowing like deep down, there's gratitude and I'm grateful for that, like how they make me look to my clients. And, we're always up leveling too, right? Like who worked 15 years ago for us may not be our go-to person now because maybe they got too much business or maybe they're not interested or maybe they haven't changed with the times or whatever, right? Like everybody has a season. And so we're always up leveling the number of people. We're always asking our clients too, you did that. Would you recommend that mover? What do you think? We're looking for a couple more movers in our community that we can refer to. And so it's been a great way to stay in touch and connect. Yeah. And probably started from my BNI days, to be honest, which if those of you guys don't know, it's a lead passing thing where you have one realtor, one mover, one mortgage person, one insurance person, one isogenic person, whatever, right? But for me, it's just that same thing of how do I build that Rolodex so that I can be a resource to my people.
So good.
I just think this Ask Sarita view is brilliant. I mean, it really is, and it kind of informs everything you've done, right? Is to be prepared for whatever question comes and make the connection that way. I just love it. One of the things you talked about at Inman was some advice that you received from one of your mentors that you carry forward in your plan every year. Can you talk a little bit about that, Sarita?
I try to remember what I said there. I think with regards to, I think I might have touched on it earlier, just about thinking big as well as the days out piece. I'm really big on, again, knowing where we're going and being super clear on what that mission is and not being afraid to like really put it out there. You do have to take inventory and know kind of where your business came from. But yeah, a couple of my mentors have advised me always just think really big and then shout it off the rooftops, as well as make sure your goals are just as personal as they are business, right? It's all like this whole idea of I've got the column business, personal, financial. No, you have one person. And the currency we all 3 have, and how everybody who's watching has the same currency, which is time and how you spend your time. And for me, going to MIT was actually interesting because it was 25 to 30 hours a week of work, not counting travel. And when I came back, I was really when I graduated, I was very deliberate. I could have taken those 25 and 30 hours, be back to my workaholic self and just pushed it right back into, oh, I took 2 years off of sort of working half time because I'm doing all this stuff. And now I'm going to kind of plug back into real estate. Instead, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. And so I put a lot of that time back into self-care and health. I started health hacking myself in terms of, red light and cryo and compression pants and this and that and recovery and nutrition and hydration and all this stuff because I could have easily we have, what is it, a real estate joke, whatever square footage bucket you have, you're going to fill it, right? If you buy a 2-bedroom condo, you're going to fill it. If you buy a 5-bedroom house, you're going to fill it. Well, whatever time we have, we're going to fill too. And so if we're not deliberate on putting ourselves first on some things, it just won't happen. And the cool thing is I already got used to taking time away from my brain. And so now how do I take time away for, physical health, as well as relationship health, spiritual health? Those things are really important to me. I think part of it is being older now. It's like, I don't care. I don't care what people think. I don't
Yeah.
think there's just one standard. Yeah, you do you. If you want to go be on TV and sell a zillion houses, have at it and let me know how I can help you. But if you want to have a life it could also be, the mortality that we face with parents as well as friends and clients. I had 3 pretty big losses this year that made me just, again, it's YOLO, right? Life is short. How we spend our time. What are those dreams? And what do we need to do to take action for those dreams instead of just someday when I'm done, I'm going to go to Europe. Well, what if I'm in Europe in a walker, or worse, I'm not around to go to Europe, right? Do it now, fold it in now, have that, whatever your retirement looks like, build that into your life today, because we don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not to be Debbie Downer, but it's important to say.
It's
Not
a
all Debbies are
motivator.
downers.
Yes, this is true. I love it.
But that's, what I think that Gen X really has done a great job with doing that. I think we saw our parents and our grandparents wait longer to retire, and then they didn't have that security. They didn't have the that blanket that they thought was going to be protecting them, right? Especially after, 2 big crashes in there. And so my mom often says that to us, like, you kids, maybe half like a little bit envious, but half like really excited for us that we're actually going out and doing things and traveling and not waiting until we're retired, because she did. And like you're saying, now my dad kind of needs help walking, and it's not easy for them to get on enough planes. And so I think it's a beautiful way. Again, whatever self-care, whatever fills your cup or your soul tank, do it now. There's no need to wait. We live a whole nother adult life when we take care of ourselves, right? We can live another 20 or 30 years, and, love, it can be in our future later in life, as Leslie has shown all of us, right? And you want to live. I think that's so beautiful. So let's talk about personally, what are you most looking forward to in 2022?
2021 was a gift for me. I have two kids, 20 and 22. My 22-year-old just graduated college and is working, and my 20-year-old's a junior, and they both went to East Coast schools. And I never expected, they leave the nest, right? I never expected them to come back and then spend essentially a year with us. They came back kicking and screaming. They thought they were coming home for spring break, and then we all sort of decided that it may not make sense to go back, especially to an East Coast school, which if the numbers were to go up, they'd have to kind of vacate shotgun. And then we ended up having like the biggest blast ever. Whether it was Ozark or baking bread or grilling, and just like, it's like my adult kids became our friends, and we learned just as much from them as they learned from us. So what I'm looking forward to is a little more of that, some of the lessons learned with that time where we were able to hit pause and do things that we really enjoyed. I'm also so looking forward to the reconnection again. Inman I didn't go to NAR, but I went to Inman, and it was so nice. And then I just got back from Austin, where I was with a bunch of like friends, colleagues turns turned friends, turned besties across the country. And I mean, I just wanted to hug them until like, we couldn't breathe. Like it just, I have taken so much for granted. We all have, I think. And just, I mean, I was giddy. There was times where I was just at dinner and I was smiling like I probably looked like a weird, blinking, staring clown or something, but I like just cherish those connections. And here's a great example. We were flying from Asia because we went to go see my 90-year-old father-in-law, and I came in hot. I went straight to Austin. My husband went to Portland. I went to Austin. My luggage didn't make it. My luggage was in London. And here I am, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to go to Nordstrom's, or I got it. Like, I'm going to be with our CEO and with my 200 besties, and I got to go to Target, and I got to go get some clothes. But my husband's baggage made it, and I grabbed like clean sweatpants from him, clean t-shirts, and then I did, laundry, essentials in the sink, and I had a couple of shirts that I hadn't worn. And I just went with it. And this is where love comes in, right? When you're around your people and they accept you and love you for who you are, it doesn't even matter what you're wearing, right? And so it for me was just like, so what? So what? Like like me, my family and I play this game now where anything goes wrong, we gamify it and like, what's the silver lining? What's the good?
Yes.
And it's so fun to like think about like, wow, this happened, but this and this happened as a result. And you just get over fixating or complaining about the negative. And so that was really powerful for me, of just like, when you're around people who accept you and love you for who you are, like there's nothing better. And that's what I love about this industry. We have it all over the place.
So
that's what I'm looking forward to. It's just return to life and without forgetting some of the lessons that we've learned.
Sarita, unfortunately, I think we're kind of getting towards the end here, and I wanted to ask you about any words of wisdom you'd like to share to sign off. But before we do that, if there's any books or podcasts or other resources, I know that you are a deep consumer of content, and we'd love to hear your recommendations for anything
Sure.
we may not have been aware of.
I am a little bit of a business nerd, so I love Business Wars. I love Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast.
Yes, so
My
good.
friends have launched Empire Builders. That's a great podcast as well. And I love anything Brene Brown. With regards,
there's a new book out, by the way.
Yes, she does. I love her. She's her obsession with Ted Lasso cracks me up, because I love Ted Lasso and I love Brene. So like,
Yes.
those are all of my favorite things.
Yes.
And then with regards to books, because of Nike as well, I love Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. I love Jesse Itzler's. I've referred to him as Sarah Blakely's husband, as in Living with a Seal, which to me talks about the power of just being able to just do it. Like, just like do, if you want to go to the top or try something, just don't be afraid to try it and get rejected. One of my favorite books from last year is Reshma Sajani. She's the founder of Girls Who Code, and her book's called Brave Not Perfect, and it is so darn good.
Oh, wow.
It talks about girls, when you're coding, when they raise their hand, they have a question, their screen's blank. They tried 10 times, but they cleared their screen because they didn't want a mistake to be shown. Whereas the boys like had no problem asking and showing, and like they didn't care what anyone thought. They didn't need to be perfect. And so this brave, not perfect concept is something I teach. I watch and sort of make sure my 22-year-old engineering daughter doesn't dim her light to feel cool or popular. And she's being smart as the new cool. So those are some of my favorite books and podcasts.
I love that.
And any words of wisdom just to sign us off with?
I am an education nerd, right? Couple of master's degrees, engineering degree. And I do consider myself sometimes to be like, okay, I'm smart, I'm well-read and everything else. I am not smart enough to have different versions of myself. And so just to be true to yourself and be authentic. Like I used to have this, like, should I have my personal page? Should I have my business page? And most of my posts are personal because that's who I am, right? And so it's so much easier being you when you have one version and you don't have to sit there and wait for the other person to talk before you decide.
That. You're singing my song.
Yes.
So my parting words of just like what I could tell myself, my 20-year-old or 30-year-old self, doesn't matter what people think. live big, dare to dream, be authentic, be real, because people love realness, and they can really sense if you're full of crap or not. And so just be you, and if you may not win everyone over, but you'll win over the people that should be in your world.
I
Beautiful.
love that. Oh my goodness. Well, and you could just wrap that in the Ask Sarita bow. I mean, that is who you are authentically. Ask me the question. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you.
Right.
Thank you so much
It's been
for joining
so
us.
great.
It really has been so great. I
So
can't wait to
happy.
listen again. I can't wait to go back.
It's a
Here it
highlighter.
is, the liquid sunshine in Leslie's hand. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you to everybody who joined us today live, whether you're watching on Zoom or on Facebook. For those of you catching the replay, maybe you're on the Facebook group as well, or maybe you're on YouTube, on the blog. Wherever you are, we're so grateful you're here. Do not let not being here live keep you from asking Sarita questions. We will be sure to get them to her and get you all connected. Of course, we will drop in all of the links to connect with Sarita, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I know that Ask Sarita is on Twitter as well. We are so grateful for your wisdom. We want to make sure, again, to remind everyone, next week we have Leslie Ruda Smith joining us, the 2022 NAR president, who is leading for the first time ever a female dominated leadership team. So we're going to have lots to dish about next week. And then the 17th, don't forget to mark your calendars for that and bring your best lesson, your biggest win, your fiercest failure that you can't wait to share with all of us to inspire us as we get ready to walk into the holidays. Grab your swag for those future CEOs. We got the onesies all the ways to Grams with the baseball caps. So make sure you go to IamWomanUp.com to get some of those goodies. And as always, we could not do anything that we do inside the community without our sponsors: Realogy, Better Homes and Gardens, Exit, Engel and Volkers, Realtor.com, Rate My Agent, Side, Resolve, Reevaluate, eHomes, Women's Council of Realtors in California. We're so grateful to all of you. We look forward to seeing you next week. And again, thank you, Sarita, for joining us.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
It's
it.
wonderful.
Happy weekend, everyone.
Bye,
So
everyone.
great.
Take care.